The first warning came at 0347 hours GMT. When Lieutenant Commander Park saw strange movements in space beyond Neptune, his eyes widened as he watched his screens. Within minutes, the dark void suddenly filled with bright lights as over 1,000 alien ships appeared from nowhere. They looked like black knives cutting through space. Admiral Kim stood in the command room of Luna Base, staring at the tactical display with a serious face. His heart was beating fast, but his voice stayed calm. "How long until they reach Earth?" asked his officer. 18 hours at their current speed, sir," Captain Lee replied. Her fingers moved quickly across the glowing controls. She had seen this pattern before in training simulations. Their formation looks like a standard attack pattern for taking over planets. The Veilfin Armada was famous across the galaxy for being fast and deadly. They'd already taken over 17 different worlds using the same method. Hit hard, destroy all defenses quickly, and crush any resistance before people could fight back. Each of their ships was as big as a city block and carried enough weapons to destroy entire continents down on Earth. Emergency warning systems started broadcasting to every country, but something strange happened. Instead of people running around in panic, something else began to stir. In Seoul, a man named Han, who used to be a Marine, calmly picked up his rifle and counted his bullets. He had been waiting for this day for years. In Busan, Dr. Yoon quickly uploaded secret research files to hidden computer networks before joining the people leaving the city. The alien commander, Vexstar, looked at Earth through the big window of his flagship. He was tall and thin, with purple skin and 4 arms. "Another primitive world," he said to his helper with a bored voice. "Their space stations are already destroyed. This will be finished in a few days." Vexstar had done this many times before. The pattern was always the same. First, the aliens would destroy all the satellites and space defenses, then they would land their troops in the biggest cities, and the local people would panic, their governments would fall apart, and within a week, another world would belong to the Veilthan Empire. But as the first wave of alien landing ships began moving toward Earth's major cities, something unexpected started to happen. The humans were not hiding in their shelters like scared animals. Instead, they were watching, learning, and getting ready for something in Tokyo. An old woman named Mrs. Tanaka calmly packed her belongings while writing notes about the alien ships she could see in the sky. In London, a taxi driver named Singh was quietly telling other drivers about safe routes through the city using his radio. In New York, a teacher named Rodriguez was helping children evacuate while secretly taking pictures of the alien craft with her phone. The aliens had studied many worlds before attacking them. They knew how primitive species usually reacted. First came fear, then chaos, then surrender. But Earth was different. The humans were acting too calm, too organized. It was like they had been expecting this to happen. Vexstar noticed something odd about the human response. "Why are they not fleeing in terror?" he asked his tactical officer. "Where are the mass evacuations? Where is the panic?" His officer, a creature with green scales and 3 eyes, looked at the data coming from their scout ships. "Commander, the humans appear to be ... organizing. Their military forces are not gathering to fight us directly. Instead, they seem to be spreading out and hiding. This was not normal. Usually when the Veilthan arrived, the local military would either attack them head-on and get destroyed quickly, or they would surrender immediately. But the humans were doing neither. They were disappearing. Down on Earth, former Marine Corporal Han met with his neighbors in Seoul. They were all veterans or people who had trained for emergencies. "Remember," he told them quietly, "we are not trying to stop them today. We are learning how they fight. We are getting ready for tomorrow." Similar meetings were happening all over the world. In small towns and big cities, humans were gathering in secret. They shared information, made plans, and prepared weapons. But they were not preparing to fight the way the aliens expected. Dr. Yoon finished her work at the research facility in Busan. She had uploaded decades of scientific research to hidden servers around the world. If the aliens captured the facility, they would find nothing important. But if humans survived, they would have all the knowledge they needed to fight back. As the alien ships got closer to Earth, Vextar began to feel something he had not felt. In many years of conquest, uncertainty, the humans were acting too strangely, too prepared. It was almost like they had been waiting for this invasion to happen, but that was impossible. Earth was a primitive world that had barely reached its own moon. How could they be ready for interstellar war? The first alien landing craft broke through Earth's atmosphere, heading for major cities around the world. But instead of finding helpless victims, they were about to discover something that would change the course of galactic history forever. They were about to learn what happened when you attacked a world full of beings who had spent their entire existence learning how to fight each other. The invasion was beginning. But Earth had been preparing for this moment longer than the aliens could possibly imagine. The veil-thin forces landed at the same time in 12 big cities around the world. Their energy guns cut through buildings like they were made of paper. Their battle armor made them look like they could not be hurt. According to all their war plans, Earth should have given up within a few hours. But something strange happened. Instead, the humans disappeared. Colonel Zhang was hiding in the broken pieces of buildings in downtown Seoul. He spoke very quietly into his radio so the aliens would not hear him. Phoenix 7, this is Eagle 1. Tell me how the enemy soldiers move around and what weapons they use. All around him, normal people were watching the aliens. Teachers, people who worked in offices, and students were all sending information to secret command centers. The aliens had expected to find scared people running and screaming. Instead, they found empty streets and quiet buildings. Did not know was that every human who had left the cities was now part of the biggest spy network in history. Mrs. Kim, who used to teach mathematics at Seoul National University, was now sitting on a rooftop with binoculars. She watched the alien soldiers and wrote down notes about how they moved. They always walk in groups of 3. She whispered into her small radio. The one in the middle carries the big gun. In Tokyo, a businessman named Sato was hiding in the subway tunnels. He had spent his whole life selling computers. But now he was counting alien vehicles and reporting their numbers to the resistance. 24 hover tanks on Shibuya Crossing, he reported. They stop every 10 minutes to scan the buildings. Aliens walked through the empty cities, confused by what they found. Commander Vextar had expected desperate battles and crying people begging for mercy. Instead, his soldiers reported the same thing from every city: silence, emptiness, and the strange feeling that they were being watched. Deep underground on Jeju Island, General Cho sat in a secret command bunker that the aliens did not know existed. He looked at all the information coming in from around the world. His staff brought him reports every few minutes. "Sir, we have learned something important," said Major Park, reading from his computer screen. "Their energy shields only protect them from the front and sides. Their backs are not protected." General Cho nodded and made notes. "What else have we learned?" "Their communication frequencies are not encrypted," reported Captain Song, who was listening to alien radio messages from her station. "We can hear everything they say to each other. And sir, we are getting the same reports from all around the world. The aliens are using exactly the same tactics in every city. They are not changing their methods or learning from what happens. It was very important information. In all of human history, armies that did not adapt to new situations were armies that lost wars. The aliens were making the same mistake that many human generals had made in the past. Then we have an advantage they do not know about," General Cho said with a small smile. "Begin Phase 2. Around the world, the real war started. It was not the kind of war the Veilthan expected. Thought they would fight desperate humans making last stands and heroic sacrifices. Instead, they were about to face something much more dangerous. They were about to fight human beings doing what humans did best: adapting, learning, and turning their enemies' strengths into weaknesses." In London, a group of people who had been engineers before the invasion were now building strange new weapons in hidden workshops. They used pieces of destroyed alien equipment mixed with human technology. "If we can copy their energy frequency," said Engineer Davies, "we can make our bullets go through their shields." In New York, former police officer Martinez was teaching civilians how to move through the city without being seen. "The aliens have very good eyes," she explained to her group, "but they cannot see heat signatures like humans can. We can use this against them. Aliens began to realize that something was wrong. They controlled the big buildings and main streets, but they did not really control anything. Every day, more of their equipment disappeared. Their communication systems were being jammed. Their supply convoys were being attacked by enemies they could not see. Where are they? Vexter demanded from his flagship. Our sensors show the cities are empty, but our forces are under constant attack. His tactical officer looked nervous. Commander, I think the humans are still there. All of them. They're just ... hiding better than we expected. What the aliens did not understand was that humans had been practicing this kind of warfare for thousands of years. From ancient guerrilla fighters to modern special forces, humans had always known how to fight enemies who were bigger and stronger than they were. Dr. Yoon, now working from a hidden laboratory in the mountains near Busan, was studying captured alien technology. Our weapons are very powerful, she reported to General Cho, but they are also very complex. If we can find the right frequency, we can make them stop working. The sleeping giant was waking up. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Veilthan were fighting an enemy that refused to fight the way they expected. And slowly, very slowly, the humans were learning how to win. 3 days after the aliens first landed, the Veilthan began to understand they had made a terrible mistake. The cities they thought they had conquered had become death traps. Every building hid weapons. Every normal person could be a fighter. And worst of all, their own technology was being used against them. Engineer specialist Kong crawled out of the underground tunnels beneath what used to be International Airport. Her clothes were dirty and torn, but in her hands she carried something that should not have existed. It was a human weapon powered by alien energy cells that she had taken from destroyed enemy equipment. The frequency change works, she said, excitedly to her team of engineers and scientists who were hiding in the tunnels with her. We can break through their shields now. Her team gathered around to look at the strange device. It looked like a normal human rifle, but it glowed with the same blue energy that powered alien weapons. Out! Did you figure it out? Asked her assistant, a young man named Beak, who had been a computer programmer before the invasion. To their communications, Kong explained. Their shields work on a single frequency. If we can match that frequency and then reverse it, their protection disappears. This was exactly the kind of breakthrough that General Cho had been hoping for. Deep in his underground command center, he received the news with great excitement. How quickly can we make more of these weapons? He asked over the radio. Give us 2 days, Kong replied. We have enough alien power cells to make 50 weapons, maybe more if we can capture more equipment. The real breakthrough came when Dr. Wu, who was studying captured alien technology in a hidden laboratory, made an important discovery. Aliens had never fought against guerrilla warfare before. Their entire way of fighting was based on having bigger guns and better technology than their enemies. They had no plans for fighting an enemy that refused to fight them directly. Look. At their military manuals, Dr. Wu explained to General Cho during a secret video call. Every battle plan they have involves open combat between armies. They expect their enemies to line up and fight them like soldiers in old wars. They have never faced an enemy that hides, strikes quickly, and then disappears. This was incredibly valuable information. It meant that humans could use tactics that the aliens had never seen before and would not know how to counter. Lieutenant Name was coordinating his resistance fighters from the Seoul subway system. The underground tunnels gave them perfect hiding places and allowed them to move around the city without being seen by alien patrols above ground. Listen carefully, he told his group of 20 fighters. Most of them had been normal civilians just a week ago. Shop owners, students, office workers. We are not trying to destroy them in direct fighting. We're trying to make them afraid to leave their ships. His strategy was working. Every day, fewer alien soldiers came out to patrol the streets. They were starting to realize that every corner could hide an enemy. Every building could contain a trap. Every shadow could conceal someone with a weapon. The aliens began sending desperate messages back to their ships in space. We need more soldiers, reported one ground commander. The humans are everywhere and nowhere. We cannot find them, but they keep attacking us. How many humans are fighting you? Asked Commander Vexstar from his flagship. We do not know, sir. It could be a few hundred or it could be millions. They all look the same, and they do not wear uniforms. Above Earth's atmosphere, the Veilthan fleet was receiving more and more worried communications from their ground forces. The invasion that was supposed to be finished in days was now entering its fourth day with no end in sight. But then something even more surprising happened. Ships that had been silent and dark for days suddenly came alive with activity. Hidden among the asteroids between Mars and Jupiter, secret bases that the aliens had never detected began powering up weapon systems. Admiral Kim stood in the command center of one of these hidden bases. He had been waiting for this moment for 3 days, watching as the alien fleet became more and more worried about their ground forces. Now was the perfect time to spring his trap. Activate the Lighthouse Protocol, he ordered his weapons officer. Across the solar system, defense platforms that had been camouflaged and powered down for decades suddenly blazed to life. They had been hidden among asteroids, disguised as space debris, and concealed behind moons. The Veilthan fleet suddenly discovered they were surrounded by weapons they never knew existed. "Sir," shouted the alien tactical officer on Vexstar's flagship, "we are detecting massive energy signatures all around us. There are weapons platforms everywhere." Vexstar stared at his tactical display in shock. Red dots representing human weapons were appearing all around his fleet. They had been there the whole time, waiting and watching. "How is this possible?" he whispered. "Our intelligence said they were a primitive species that had barely reached their own moon. On Earth and in space, the humans were finally ready to strike back." The sleeping giant was fully awake now, and it was very, very angry. The Veilthan fleet commander Vexstar stared at his tactical display with complete horror. His 4 eyes could not believe what they were seeing. In just 6 hours he had lost a third of his ships, 2 weapons that appeared from nowhere. Earth's so-called primitive defenses were destroying his armada piece by piece. How is this possible? He screamed at his tactical officer, his purple skin turning darker with rage. "Our spies told us they had barely reached their own moon. Should not have weapons like this." His tactical officer, a creature with green scales and 3 eyes, looked terrified as he read the battle reports. "Commander, we have lost over 300 ships. The humans have weapons hidden everywhere in asteroids, behind moons, even disguised as space junk. They have been watching us since we arrived." What the aliens did not understand was that humans had been getting ready for this moment for over 100 years. Every science fiction movie, every military training exercise, every government defense budget had been building toward this day. Humans had imagined alien invasions so many times that when it finally happened, they were ready. Captain Min sat in the cockpit of her stealth fighter, flying through the middle of the Veilthan formation. Her ship was covered with special paint that made it nearly invisible to alien sensors. She had been flying for 12 hours straight, but she was not tired. She was angry. "Target acquired," she reported calmly into her radio, pointing her weapons at the alien flagship's command center. "Beginning attack." Her ship was not bigger than the alien vessels, and it did not have more powerful weapons. It was much smarter. Her ship's computer learned from every battle, getting better with each fight. It could predict what the aliens would do before they did it. The human ships had something the aliens had never seen before: artificial intelligence that could think and learn during battle. Every time an alien ship fired its weapons, the human computers learned how to avoid those weapons better. Every time an alien ship tried to escape, the human computers learned how to catch them faster. Down on Earth, the resistance fighters had become something the aliens had never encountered in all their wars. They were no longer just hiding and running away. Now they were hunting. Sergeant Park led his squad of fighters through the broken buildings of Gangnam District in Seoul. His team moved like ghosts through the ruins, completely silent and invisible to the alien patrols. Their weapons were now a mixture of human engineering and alien technology that they had captured and improved. "Remember," Park whispered to his team, "hit them fast and then disappear. Do not stay to fight. We are not trying to be heroes. We are trying to win. His squad included people who had never been soldiers before the invasion. There was Ms. Choi, who had been a librarian, now carrying a weapon that fired alien energy bolts. There was Mr. Jung, who had sold insurance, now an expert at setting traps for alien vehicles. The invasion had turned ordinary people into deadly fighters. They struck an alien patrol from 3 directions at once. The aliens never saw them coming and never had a chance to fight back. Within seconds, 5 alien soldiers were dead, and their equipment was being carried away by the human fighters, who vanished into the ruins as quickly as they had appeared. This same scene was happening all over the world. In Tokyo, New York, London, and every other occupied city, human resistance fighters had evolved from desperate survivors into efficient killers. They knew the aliens' weaknesses now, and they used that knowledge without mercy. In the underground command bunker on Jeju Island, Communications Officer Bei looked up from her station with surprise. "Sir," she reported to General Cho, "we are receiving surrender messages from several Veilthan ground units. They want safe passage to leave Earth." This was something no one had expected. The mighty Veilthan, who had conquered 17 worlds, were asking for permission to retreat. General Cho thought about this for a moment. His first instinct was to refuse and destroy them all. But he was a smart military leader who understood that showing mercy could sometimes be more powerful than showing strength. Tell them their surrender is accepted, he decided. But they must leave all their technology behind. All weapons, all equipment, all vehicles. They can take only the clothes they are wearing. The alien ground commander who received this message was so relieved that he almost cried. "Agreed," he replied immediately. "We will leave everything and go to our ships." The tide of the war had turned completely. The Veilthan, who had been masters of 17 different worlds, were being systematically defeated by a species they had thought was primitive and helpless. Up in space, Commander Vextar watched his fleet falling apart around him. More ships were exploding every minute. The humans had weapons he could not see and tactics he could not understand. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "the other fleet commanders are requesting permission to retreat from the system." Vextar looked at his tactical display one more time. Half of his great armada was gone, destroyed by creatures he had. "Thought would be easy to conquer. Permission granted," he said quietly. "Signal all ships to prepare for hyperspace jump. We are leaving this cursed system." The mighty Veilthan were running away from Earth, defeated by the species they had underestimated. The surviving Veilthan ships fled Earth's solar system in complete chaos. Their great invasion force was now reduced to less than a quarter of its original strength. Broken ships limped away into hyperspace, carrying wounded aliens and damaged equipment. But their escape carried something far more dangerous than their military defeat. They carried the knowledge of what humanity truly was. Commander Vextar sat in his damaged flagship, staring at the reports from his surviving captains. Out of 1,000 ships that had arrived at Earth, only 230 were still able to fly. The rest had been destroyed or captured by the humans. "How do we explain this to the High Command?" asked his tactical officer, his 3 eyes filled with fear. "We tell them the truth," Vextar replied quietly. "We tell them that we have awakened something that should have been left alone. We tell them that the humans are not primitive. They are dangerous." Back on Earth, Admiral Kim stood on the observation deck of a newly built shipyard floating in space above the planet. Through the large windows, he watched as the first human interstellar warships were being constructed. The ships looked nothing like the old human spacecraft that had barely been able to reach Mars. These new ships were built using captured Veilthan technology, but improved with human engineering. "The alien technology has made us advance by hundreds of years in just a few months," he said to his aide, Captain O, who stood beside him. "But it has also revealed our location to the entire galaxy. We are no longer hidden. For thousands of years, Earth had been invisible to the rest of the galaxy. Humans had made radio signals and sent out space probes, but they had been too far away and too weak for alien civilizations to notice. Now, after defeating the Veilthan, every advanced species in the galaxy would know that Earth existed, and that humans were dangerous. Dr. Seo, who was now the head of the Xenotechnology Division, walked up to them carrying a tablet computer. The screen showed star charts with hundreds of different solar systems marked in different colors. Our analysis of the alien navigation computers shows us the locations of all 17 worlds they conquered, she explained, pointing to the red dots on the screen. We also have their homeworld's location and all their communication frequencies. The information was incredible. Earth had not only survived the invasion, but they had gained all the knowledge they needed to become the attackers instead of the defenders. Lieutenant Colonel Jin, who was now the commander of the 1st Interstellar Division, looked at the star charts with interest. His division was made up of soldiers who had fought against the aliens on Earth and were now training to fight them in space. So what is our mission? He asked Admiral Kim. Are we going to liberate the conquered worlds, or are we going to conquer them ourselves? This was an important question. Humans now had the power to become the same kind of aggressive species that the Veilthan had been. They could use their new technology to build an empire and enslave other planets? General Cho, who had been listening to the conversation, answered firmly. Liberation. We are going to free the worlds that the Veilthan enslaved. We are going to make sure they never threaten anyone again. The decision was made. Humanity would not become conquerors like the aliens. Instead, they would become liberators. But they would also make sure that no alien species would ever try to invade Earth again, as the first human starships prepared to leave the solar system. A message was broadcast across all Veilthan communication frequencies. The message was simple, direct, and delivered in the aliens' own language. Every Veilthan ship in the galaxy could hear it clearly. You wanted to meet humanity? Congratulations, we are coming. The message was recorded by Captain Song, who had learned to speak the Veilthan language during the war. Her voice was calm and polite, but the words carried a promise of revenge that made alien commanders across the galaxy feel afraid. On the Veilthan homeworld, the High Command received reports from the survivors of the Earth invasion. The news was so shocking that some of the alien leaders refused to believe it at first. A primitive species destroyed our fleet, asked the Supreme Commander, his purple skin turning dark with anger. How is this possible? They were not primitive, Vexter explained during his report. They had been preparing for this war for their entire history. Every human is a potential soldier. Every human building is a potential fortress. They do not fight like civilized species. They fight like wild animals, but with advanced technology. The invasion had indeed been swift, but Earth's anger would last forever. The Veilthan had awakened something that had been contained for thousands of years. They had awakened a species that treated war not as a way to conquer territory, but as a way to evolve and become stronger. Now, humanity was taking its first steps into a galaxy that would never be safe from their presence again. The humans were no longer trapped on their small planet. They were free to explore the stars, and they were very, very angry about what the aliens had tried to do to their home. The galaxy would never be the same again.